The moonlight touched the edges of the broken steel towers, casting long shadows over the ruined battlefield. Smoke rose in thin lines. Cold wind moved the ash-covered ground. All was silent, except for a slow, repeating thud. It echoed across the field. Not machine fire. Not footsteps. Something heavier. A young human soldier named Kai stood still behind a fallen wall. His rifle was empty. His arm was bleeding. He could hear the strange thudding get louder, but he didn't move. His breath was slow. He had seen things today, machines that walked, aliens that didn't bleed, and a battle that was never meant to happen. Just 3 days ago, he was eating noodles at the outpost station. Now his squad was gone. Then he saw her. She stood in the middle of the wreckage, like a statue, tall, covered in thick alien armor. Silver blue plates wrapped her from neck to toe, glowing lightly at the joints. She wasn't human. Her form was clearly different: broader shoulders, elongated limbs, but her face was partly visible through a broken part of her helmet. Sharp cheekbones, closed eyes, and a strange expression like pain. Kai raised his rifle out of instinct. Empty, it didn't matter. The armored figure didn't move. She wasn't threatening. She looked frozen, trapped. He waited. Then he stepped closer. Carefully. His boots crunched on broken glass. Still no movement. He moved around her slowly. Her body was locked in place. Arms slightly raised, like she had been reaching for something before her suit froze. Her face was tense. It wasn't just armor. It was a prison. Kai saw strange symbols glowing on the back of her neck, like an alien. Language made of light. He didn't recognize them, but one of the shapes blinked softly. The blinking slowed down, then stopped. She was still alive, but barely. He whispered to himself, "What are you?" His hand reached toward her, unsure if he should even touch her, but something about her presence pulled at him. She was a soldier like him once. Maybe still. The glowing shape blinked again when his hand got closer. Then everything changed. As soon as his fingers touched the glowing part, a hiss escaped the back of her suit. Her arms dropped down with a loud clang. Her head moved slightly. Her eyes opened bright violet and sharp, but not angry, confused. Her breathing picked up. Kai jumped back. She fell to one knee. The armor plates around her legs folded slightly. Her chest rose and fell like she had been holding her breath for days. She looked at him. Then she spoke, her voice mechanical, soft and broken. "You unlocked me." Kai didn't know what to say. She tried to stand but stumbled. He stepped forward and caught her arm. The armor felt warm, not cold. Her balance returned, but she kept holding onto him. "I was locked during the blast," she said, her voice clearer now. "They left me." "Who did?" Kai asked. "My own kind." She stood fully now, taller than him by a foot. Her armor was dented, scratched, but still dangerous looking. Yet she didn't act like a weapon. "I'm Kai," he said. "I am Vara of the Kaileri Guard." He had heard of her species. The Kaileri were known for strength and discipline, but not for kindness. "Why did they leave you?" he asked. "I refuse to kill non-combatants," she said. Kai understood now. Her kind betrayed her for showing mercy. Maybe that's why the suit locked her punishment. Vara looked around at the battlefield. "Is it over?" "For now," Kai said. She touched her chest panel. "My power core is low. I have no comms, no locator." "You're alone," Kai said. "So are you," she replied. They stood in silence. Two soldiers. Enemies by birth. Survivors by chance. Kai looked up at the sky. More ships might come. The war wasn't done yet. But for now, he was no longer alone, and neither was she. The sky was dark with thick gray clouds. Wind moved slowly across the battlefield, pushing ash and smoke into the trees. Kai and Vara walked together without speaking. The silence between them wasn't cold, it was tired, heavy, like two people who had seen too much in one day. Kai's leg hurt. His arm was still bleeding. But he walked anyway. Vara's armor made small sounds with each step, metal brushing against metal, but she wasn't as strong as she looked. Her power core was dying, and she moved slower now. The suit had protected her for days, but it had also drained her energy. They didn't know where they were going. Only that they had to leave the open land. Drones might still be flying above. Someone could come looking. Not to rescue, just to finish the job. After an hour, they found a broken tunnel covered by thick roots and dirt. It looked like part of the old human supply lines used before the fighting reached this area. Kai brushed away the rubble and climbed down first. The air inside was cooler, safer. He turned back. "You can fit?" Vara looked at the entrance, then nodded. Her armor shifted slightly, folding parts around her shoulders. It wasn't just protection. It was alive in some way. Inside the tunnel was dark and damp. Kai pulled out a broken glow stick and cracked it. A pale green light filled the space. The walls were lined with rusted pipes. Old messages in human language still marked the walls. Exit B2. No flames. Water line. They sat on the floor. Finally, they could breathe. Vara removed a piece of her helmet. It slid back, revealing more of her face. Her skin was smooth, silver gray with a soft glow under the eyes. Her ears were long and thin, not human, but not cold either. Kai watched her quietly. "You don't trust me yet," she said. "I don't." "Know you," Kai replied, "and yet you saved me." "I didn't know you either when I did that." A small smile formed on her lips. "It didn't look fake. You touched the unlock rune," she said. "No one else ever has." "I didn't mean to." "That's the only way it works." They sat in silence again. In the distance, a deep boom echoed. Another part of the war continued somewhere else. Via Ro pulled a small device from her waist. It was cracked. She turned it in her hands. "This was a communicator," she said. "Now it's useless." "Same with my gear," Kai said. "We're off the map. Your leaders won't come for you. They don't know I'm still breathing." Vara leaned her head back. "Then we are both ghosts." He looked at her carefully. "You said your people locked your suit because you refused to follow orders?" "Yes," she said. "I was ordered to burn a village. I saw children, mothers." I hesitated. The armor reads thoughts. It knew I didn't want to follow orders. It froze me. "That's protocol." Kai clenched his jaw. "That's not mercy, that's slavery. My kind believes duty comes before choice." "That's not right." She looked at him. "I'm starting to agree." He handed her half of a ration bar from his jacket pocket. It was dry and old, but better than nothing. She looked at it with interest, then took a small bite. "It tastes like paper," she said. "That means it's working." They both laughed quietly. It was the first sound of peace they'd heard all day. Kai lay back on the tunnel floor, his head resting against his pack. His eyes were heavy. Vara remained seated, her back against the wall. Her armor clicked softly as it entered sleep mode. "Before his eyes closed, Kai said, "If we're going to survive out here, we'll need to trust each other." Vara replied, her voice almost a whisper, "Then we start with this. Thank you for waking me." He didn't answer. He was already asleep, but her eyes stayed open a little longer, watching him. The human had done something no one else had. He touched her, not with force, but with trust, and something inside her had changed. Morning came slowly. There was no sunlight in the tunnel, only the dim green glow of Kai's fading lightstick. His body ached, and his arm was stiff from dried blood. Still, he felt lucky to be alive. He looked over to see Vara still awake, sitting quietly with her hands resting on her knees. "You didn't sleep?" he asked, rubbing his eyes. "My armor powers down," she said, "but I remain alert." He sat up. Still don't trust me? I trust you more than anyone in this war. But I don't trust the world outside. Kai nodded. He understood that feeling. They both had been betrayed by their leaders, by their own kind. He pulled off his jacket and started tearing a strip from the sleeve. Your leg joint looks burnt. He said, Can I help? Vara hesitated, then extended her armored leg. The joint near her thigh had a black scorch mark. Kai pressed the cloth gently against it. I didn't think humans were trained in alien field care, she said. I'm not, Kai replied with a weak grin, but I can wrap things. I've been shot enough times to learn. They both smiled again, small tired smiles, but real. After some food and water, they made a plan. They would head north, toward the crashed Kaleri cruiser. Vara said there might be working tech there, maybe a power cell, maybe a signal booster. Kai agreed. Moving together gave them purpose. Sitting in the tunnel meant waiting for death. Outside, the sky was still gray. The wind carried dust across the landscape. They walked carefully, avoiding open ground. Vara moved slower now. Her armor warned her of low energy. Every step made her chest lights dim. They walked for hours. Along the way, they passed wreckage. From the battle, burnt machines, broken drones, and bodies, some human, some not. Kai didn't look too long. But Vara sometimes stopped to touch the fallen Kaleri soldiers. You knew them? He asked. One was my squad leader, she said. Quietly, he activated my armor lock. Kai stared. He did that to you? Yes, he told me mercy was weakness. I didn't respond quickly enough. The system read my hesitation. Then, darkness. She didn't say more. The wind howled through the rocks. They found shelter inside a broken shuttle. The hull was split open, but the inside was dry. Kai cleared out debris and motioned for her to sit. I'll scout ahead, he said. You rest. You shouldn't go alone, she replied. I won't go far. Just need to see if the ship's where you said. Vara gave a slow nod. Be careful. Kai left, climbing the hill quietly. From the top, he saw smoke in the distance. Not black smoke from fire, but blue. Kaleri tech. It had to be the cruiser. It was half buried in the earth, tilted on its side. But something else caught his eye. A patrol drone. Still flying. Still active. He ducked. The drone passed above but didn't scan the area. Probably low on power. Still dangerous though. He stayed hidden until it moved toward the west. Then he returned. The cruiser's there, he said. Few clicks north. And? A drone. Scouting. Kaleri model. Vara looked at her hands. Then they may still be hunting me. You said they left you. They also don't want survivors who break orders. Especially ones wearing high command armor. Kai blinked. High command? She nodded. I wasn't just a soldier. I was a guardian. My armor was built for elite missions. They didn't just freeze me. They erased me. He sat beside her, unsure of what to say. She continued. If they find me, they'll finish what they started. And if they find you with me, they'll do the same, Kai finished. So we keep moving. She looked at him closely. You could leave now. Go another way. You don't have to carry my risk. He shook his head. If I leave you, I'm no better than the people who locked you in that armor. Her violet eyes softened. I won't leave, he said again. For a moment, the silence felt warm, not heavy. Like before, it was a quiet understanding, two enemies. Now partners. Vara reached into her belt and pulled out a small shard of her suit's crystal. This is memory glass, she said. If I fall, break it, you'll know what I stood for. Kai took it slowly. You're not falling. We never know, she said. They packed up. The ship was waiting. The answers were waiting, and maybe something more than survival was waiting. 2. The crashed Kaleri cruiser lay on its side like a sleeping beast. Its silver hull was cracked, scorched, and half buried in broken earth. Strange blue smoke leaked from the back vents. The ship had once been beautiful, now it looked like a grave. Kai and Vara moved through the tall grass, keeping low. Every step was quiet, every breath slow. The patrol drone was still out there, maybe more. They didn't speak as they reached the edge of the crater. Vara stopped. She looked at the ship with a hard expression. This was my ship. Kai stared at her. You were stationed here? I was the second in command, she said softly. I told them not to target the village. They didn't listen. Kai could feel the pain in her voice. She wasn't just left behind, she had fought her own kind and lost. They slid down the crater wall, dirt and rocks tumbling under their feet. The entrance hatch was twisted, but open. Inside, the cruiser was dark. Small blue lights blinked along the floor, guiding their path deeper. They moved past empty hallways. The air was cold, filled with the metallic scent of fuel and dust. Some bodies lay still, Kaleri soldiers who hadn't made it. Vara knelt near one of them and closed its eyes. Kai looked away. You still respect them, even after what they did? They were my people once, she replied. I respect who they used to be. Farther in, they reached the core room. Broken screens flickered. The walls were covered in glowing symbols. A tall console stood in the center, cracked, but alive. Vara approached it and placed her hand on the surface. The armor on her palm opened slightly, revealing a glowing mark beneath. The console beeped. A deep hum filled the room. It still recognizes you, Kai said. Some systems remain loyal. A panel opened nearby. Inside was a small glowing cube, about the size of a fist. A power core. She whispered. She pulled it out, holding it carefully. This can restart parts of my armor. And maybe send a signal. Kai looked nervous. A signal might bring help, or enemies. Vara nodded. We must choose. Try to reach someone who might still care, or disappear forever. She placed the core into a socket on her chest. Her armor lit up brighter. The plates shifted. Her voice became clearer. I can walk properly again, she said. Suddenly, the room flashed red. A sharp alarm echoed through the walls. A voice spoke in the Kaleri language. Vara's eyes widened. The drone detected us. They rushed out of the core room. In the hallway, blue lights blinked rapidly. Outside, the sound of engines roared. One drone. Then two. Kai turned to her. We can't fight those things. I know. She looked down a side tunnel. There's an escape pod bay. Maybe one still works. They ran. Metal shook under their boots. The ship groaned as if it were alive. Behind them, the first drone entered the ship through the cracked hull. Its scanner eyes blinked red. It had orders to find the traitor and kill anything near her. Kai and Vara reached the pod room. Most of the escape pods were smashed or burned. But one, in the far corner, was intact. Its door was closed, but not locked. Vara pressed her hand to the panel. The door slid open. Kai jumped in first. Vara followed, but paused. She looked back at the ship, at her past. Then stepped inside and closed the door. The drone reached the room seconds later, but it was too late. With a burst of light, the pod launched upward, fire trailing behind. Inside, they were thrown back into their seats. The pod rattled. Outside, the sky spun. The pod passed the clouds, heading for a safer part of the planet. Finally, things grew quiet. The alarms stopped. The shaking slowed. Var Rio looked at Kai. You're hurt, she said. He touched his side. Probably cracked a rib. Again. She reached into a hidden compartment on her armor and pulled out a small healing gel. Hold still, she said. She pressed it gently to his skin. It felt cold, but the pain faded. Thanks, he whispered. Vara leaned back in her seat. We're not safe yet. But we've gained one thing. What's that? Hope. Outside, the stars blinked. The pod flew toward a forest zone still. Wild, still dangerous, but far from the war. They didn't know what waited ahead, but they were no longer soldiers. They were survivors, and they had each other. The escape pod crashed through the trees, tearing branches and shaking leaves before finally landing with a hard thud in the middle of the forest. For a moment, everything was still. Then the door hissed open and smoke poured out. Kai climbed out first, holding his ribs. His legs were shaky, but he stayed on his feet. Vara followed him, stepping carefully as her boots hit the soft ground. The forest was dense, full of strange trees and glowing plants. A low mist hung in the air, and the sound of distant creatures echoed through the woods. Kai took a deep breath. This isn't exactly a vacation spot. Vara scanned the area with her armor sensors. No enemy signals. But I detect movement. Wildlife maybe, or worse. Kai looked around. How far are we from human territory? Too far, she replied. And my beacon won't reach them through this atmosphere. Then we walk again. They moved carefully, stepping over roots and sliding down hills. The forest felt alive, but not in a friendly way. Leaves rustled above them, even when there was no wind. Small eyes watched them from the shadows. After an hour of walking, they came across a cave hidden behind a fallen tree. It was deep and dry, with just enough space to rest. Kai dropped to the ground and leaned against the wall, breathing hard. Vara looked at his side. You're getting worse. I'll live, he muttered. She removed her chest plate and sat beside him. For the first time, she looked vulnerable, less like a warrior, more like someone lost. He watched her quietly. You were never meant to be alone, were you? Vara stared ahead. Kailuri are trained from birth to lead, to fight, to obey. But not to survive alone. Kai nodded. Same for humans. They teach us how to fire a weapon, how to follow orders. But they never teach us what to do when those orders break us. She turned to him. You saved me, more than once now. You'd do the same for me. She didn't answer. But she didn't deny it either. Later, when the forest grew darker, they lit a small fire using scrap from the escape pod. The flames danced between them. Kai reached into his pack and pulled out the memory crystal she had given him days ago. I still have this, he said. Your memory glass. Vara stared at it. It holds everything. My voice, my mission, my thoughts, even my doubts. He held it closer to the firelight. Can I hear it? She hesitated. Then nodded. Kai pressed the side of the crystal. A soft hum began, and light floated up from it like mist. A small image formed above it. A younger version of Vara, standing tall in her full armor. Her voice echoed in the cave. Mission entry, Day 1. We begin patrol of Human Sector 4. Orders. As strict. Zero tolerance for resistance. No survivors if met with force. The image flickered. Her voice continued. Day 2. We passed over a village. Human children were playing in the field. They waved at the ship. I looked down and saw them smile. It made no sense. They should fear us, but they didn't. Vara's real eyes stared into the fire, quiet. Day 4. I argued with command. They wanted me to burn the area. I refused. I hesitated. My suit froze. My crew looked at me like I was already dead. Kai turned off the recording. You were human before I ever met you, he said. No, she whispered. You made me human. They sat in silence for a long time. Outside, something moved in the forest. A low growl. Leaves shook. Kai stood up and grabbed a broken piece of metal as a weapon. Vara stepped forward and activated her armor shield. Even though it drained more energy from the trees, a large creature appeared, 6 legs, tall as a truck, its body covered in dark fur. Its eyes glowed yellow. It sniffed the air, then growled again. Kai gripped the metal tighter. Any ideas? Yes, Vara said calmly. Don't run. The creature moved closer, claws clicking on stone. Vara stepped in front of Kai. Back, she said in her native tongue. "We are not your prey." The creature stopped, tilted its head. It took one step forward, then paused. Then it turned and walked away. Kai exhaled sharply. "You spoke to it?" Kailuri language shares some tones with wild species. It recognized authority. He laughed nervously. "Remind me not to argue with you." She looked at him, half smiling. "You already do." They returned to the cave and sat together again, fire between them. "I'm not sure what we are now," Kai said. "Soldiers? Enemies? Friends?" Vara stared into the flames. "Maybe something new, something better." The fire burned low. The stars above blinked quietly through gaps in the forest canopy. They were still far from safety. But together, they were no longer lost. The next morning was quiet. Birds with glowing wings flew above the trees. Strange calls echoed through the forest. Kai stepped out of the cave first, stretching his back and feeling the soreness in his bones. His wounds were healing slowly. Vara followed, her armor dim but still working. The power core from the cruiser had given her suit just enough energy to keep going. "But not forever. We'll have to move soon," she said. "Staying here too?" "Long as a risk," Kai nodded. "I don't think that creature from last night will come back. But others might." They packed what little they had and started walking again. Vara checked her sensors. "There's a small satellite relay 2 clicks east, human-made. If it's still online, we might be able to send a signal." "A signal? To who?" Kai asked. "Your people or mine?" Vara was quiet for a moment. "Not to the armies, not to commanders. To someone else. Anyone who's still human enough to listen." They moved through thick vines and uneven ground. The forest felt older now, deeper. They passed the remains of an old outpost, just rusted frames and bones. A reminder that war didn't care who was right or wrong. Finally they reached the relay. It stood like a bent tower, half covered in moss and vines. Panels were cracked, but the core still glowed faintly. Kai stepped closer. "Think it'll work?" Vara opened a small port on her arm and connected a thin wire to the relay. Symbols flashed in the air. She tapped her armor. "It's responding. Very weak, but yes, it can transmit one message." She looked at him. "What do we say?" Kai took a deep breath. "Tell them 2 soldiers met in war, 1 human, 1 Kailuri. We didn't kill each other. We survived together. We chose something different." Vara smiled softly. "A new path." She typed the message slowly, using both their languages. When she finished, she pressed send. The signal shot up into the sky like a whisper, quiet, but real. For a moment, nothing happened. Then from the west, a small light blinked in the clouds. A reply. Vara tilted her head. "That's not a military ship. Civilian code. Old, but peaceful." Kai's eyes lit up. "Then we're not alone." The signal repeated coordinates given. A landing zone not far from their location. They began moving fast. The sun was high when they reached the zone. It was a flat clearing surrounded by rock. The sky above was clearer now. Minutes passed. Then a ship appeared, small, round, more like a rescue craft than a war machine. It hovered gently, before landing with a soft hiss. The door opened. 2 figures stepped out, 1 human, 1 alien. Both were simple clothing, no armor, no guns. Just open hands. Kai and Vara didn't speak. They walked forward together. The rescuers looked surprised, but didn't stop them. "You're the signal?" the human woman asked. Kai nodded. "We're survivors." Vara stepped forward. "And we're done fighting." The woman looked at them, then smiled. "Then welcome." The ship doors closed behind them. Inside, the cabin was warm, calm. For the first time in days, they sat in chairs without fear. Someone brought Kai fresh bandages. Someone handed Vara a tablet to scan her armor. As the ship rose into the sky, Kai looked at her. "So," he said, What happens now? Vara didn't answer right away. She turned to him slowly. I think we find others like us, she said. People who don't want war anymore. He smiled. Sounds hard. It will be, she said. But it starts with one human, one Kiliri, one story. The ship broke through the clouds. Below them, the forest disappeared into green mist. The war-torn land faded behind Dot, and ahead, for the first time, was something neither of them had seen in a long time, a future, together.